built by the inmates themselves, and the inmates are the guards, and they have this pride in this thing they've built. They've built their own prison, and so they exist in a state of schizophrenia where they are both guards and prisoners, and as a result, they no longer have, having been lobotomized, the capacity to leave the prison they've made or to even see it as a prison. Who are we? Escape before it's too late. Get out of here. Of course, the problem is where to go, because it seems quite obvious that the whole world is going in the same direction. And that this is the beginning of the rest of the future now, and that from now on there'll simply be all these robots walking around, feeling nothing, thinking nothing. And there'll be nobody left almost to remind them that there once was a species called a human being, with feelings and thoughts, and that history and memory are right now being erased, and soon nobody will really remember that life existed on the planet. Trance. We're walking around like zombies. I don't think we're even aware of ourselves or our own reaction to things. We're just going around all day like unconscious machines, and meanwhile there's all of this rage and worry and uneasiness just building up and building up inside us. We can't be direct, so we end up saying the weirdest things. Symbols. Everyone's sort of floating through this fog of symbols and unconscious feelings. No one says what they're really thinking about. It's amazing how often a doctor will live up to our expectation of how a doctor should look. When you see a terrorist on television, he looks just like a terrorist. I mean, we live in a world in which fathers or single people or artists are all trying to live up to someone's fantasy of how a father or a single person or an artist should look and behave. They all act as if they know exactly how they ought to conduct themselves at every single moment, and they all seem totally self-confident. Of course, privately, people are very mixed up about themselves. They don't know what they should be doing with their lives. Our minds are just focused on these goals and plans, which in themselves are not reality. And because people's concentration is on their goals, in their life they just live each moment by habit. Things just very rarely go haywire now. And if you're just operating by habit, then you're not really living. Always being active and doing things is that I think it's quite possible to do all sorts of things and at the same time be completely dead inside. I mean, you're doing all these things, but are you doing them because you really feel an impulse to do them? Or are you doing them mechanically, as we were saying before? Because I really do believe that if you're just living mechanically, then you have to change your life. You know, when you're young, you go out on dates all the time, you go dancing or something, you're floating free, and suddenly everything freezes. And this can be true in your work as well. I mean, of course, if you're really alive inside, then of course there's no problem. But there's always the danger that things can go dead. Then I really do think you have to kind of become a hobo or something, you know, like Kerouac, and go out on the road. I really believe that. You know, it's not that wonderful to spend your life on the road. And my own overwhelming preference is to stay in that room if you can. very frightening thing, Wally, to have to suddenly realize that, my God, I thought I was living my life, but in fact, I haven't been a human being. I've been a performer. I haven't been living, I've been acting. I've acted the role of the father. I've acted the role of the husband. I've acted the role of the friend. I've acted the role of the writer, a director, what have you. I've lived in the same room with this person, but I haven't really seen them. I haven't really heard them. I haven't really been with them. I just never really looked at the picture. And then at a certain point, I realized I'd just gone for a good 18 years unable to feel, except in the most extreme situations. I mean, to some extent, I still had the ability to live in my work. That was in my real life. I was dead. I was a robot. I don't know about you, Wally, but I just have to put myself into a kind of training program to learn how to be a human being. I mean, how did I feel about anything? I didn't know. What kind of things did I like? What kind of people did I really want to be with, you know? And the only way that I could think of to find out was to just cut out all the noise and stop performing all the time and just listen to what was inside me. See, I think a time comes when you need to do that. Now, maybe in order to do it, you have to go to the Sahara, and maybe you can do it at home, but you need to cut out the noise. That's quite a challenge. I mean, if you really reach out, and you're really in touch with the other person, well, that really is something to strive for, I think. I really do. Of course, there's a problem, because the closer you come, I think, to another human being, the more completely mysterious and unreachable that person becomes. You know, people hold on to these images of father, mother, husband, wife, again, for the same reason, as they seem to provide some firm ground. But there's no wife there. What does that mean? A wife, a husband, a son. Who are we?